Debbie, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Chair Thomas Kyle?
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chair John Flegel?
Present.
They're both in the room. Ryan Richards,
Here.
who is in the room. Richard Rudder is excused this morning. Al Shucker,
Here.
also in the room. Ken Spencer,
Here.
in the room. And Frank Sonnabend,
Here.
in the room. We'll go back to Robert Lazalier, William Barlow.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Robert McNeil,
Here, yes.
thank you. And is Elizabeth Bunga connected yet? Okay, she will be late, so we'll note her when she comes. And Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Do any members have any changes to the agenda or order of business? Vice Chair Kyle ruled that the agenda and order of business is approved as published. Item 1D. Vice Chair Kyle ruled the draft meeting minutes of March 28th, 2024 is final. Item 1E. Date of the next scheduled meeting is July 25th, 2024. Okay, at this time, we're going to go into an executive session. The Electrical and Elevator Board will now meet in executive session at 9:35. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.6602F for this session, which allows the board to meet in executive session to consider information or records that are exempt from disclosure by law, including written advice from board counsel. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to disconnect from the audio conference board meeting through Zoom and will be asked to leave the conference room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of executive session, the board will return to open session and welcome members, staff, and the public to join the meeting through Zoom platform or for the rest of the board agenda. Okay, Debbie, are things ready to go?
Board members, you need to hang up and connect with the Zoom connection. So we'll wait a little bit so you can go ahead and connect. Board members that are connected, please disconnect now and reconnect to the open session. And thank you, Jake. Mr. Chair, we can go ahead and start by announcing the time and then announce roll call.
Okay, the time is now 10:09. The board has concluded executive session. Will now re-enter the public meeting. No decisions were made and no votes were taken outside the public meeting. Debbie, would you call the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for the time delay. I'm sorry. Chair Thomas Kyle, who is in the room,
Here.
and Vice Chair John Flegel, also in the room.
Here.
Connected by Zoom, William Barlow,
Here.
Elizabeth Bunga. She is not connected yet. Robert Lazalier.
Here.
Thank you. Rob McNeil,
Here.
also connected by Zoom. Ryan Richards, who is in the room.
Here.
Richard Rudder is excused. Al Shucker
Here.
in the room. Ken Spencer
Here.
in the room. Frank Sonnabend
Here.
in the room. And Sarah Young is on maternity leave. She has had her baby, so she is excused. Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Agenda item 3, public comments. Diane?
Thank you, Chair Kyle. Ian Paik, analyst with the division. We did not receive any requests to provide general public comment to the board. However, I would like to take a moment just in case there's anybody in the room or online that would like to provide general public comment to the board. Hearing none, that concludes general public comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 3A, legislative update. Richard Donovan.
Good morning, Chair Kyle and members of the board. I'm Richard Donovan. I'm a senior policy advisor here at the division, and I'm your legislative coordinator. So when the legislature's in session, I'm the person who tracks those ongoing things. I just want to draw your attention to our very concise legislative update that's included in your board packet. The legislature concluded a short legislative session earlier this year. It lasted 32 days. In Oregon, we have a kind of off again, on again, long, short legislative structure. So this was an even numbered year, so it was a short session. Went from early February to March 5th. There were a couple hundred bills that were considered, and 3 of them are relevant to the work of the division. The biggest one was about housing. I bet folks heard about that. It's Senate Bill 1537. Alana is going to follow me and give some details about the division's work around that bill. The other 2 bills that I want to draw your attention to are bills, again, that concern the division, not necessarily the oversight of this board. The first is House Bill 4016, which is an ongoing wildfire grant extension bill. The department operates a wildfire hardening and structure rebuilding grant program and has since 2020 that came following catastrophic fires in various parts of the state that year. This bill is a technical fix to extend that grant program and some of the technical responsibilities and dates around that bill to extend it through the end of this year, or excuse me, the end of next year, the end of 2025. And so the department's work in that area will just continue. The division's work in that area will just continue. And the second bill that I wanted to draw to your attention is Senate Bill 1521. This is a human services omnibus bill. In short sessions, it's pretty common to have one bill that contains a whole bunch of stuff that's a relatively broad bill that's all consensus or technical. This is one of those bills. There's one discrete provision in that bill that is relevant to us. It regards sprinklers and fire remittance in specific residential training programs and adult foster homes. There's an ongoing policy debate about what size or how sprinklers should be required, and a tension between delivering the necessary amount of services and the kind of the number of these homes and fire safety and fire protection. There was a deadline that was set to expire this year in 2024. That bill just moves it out another 2 years to allow us to continue policy discussions. That's my brief update. If there are questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll be happy to get out of the way for Alana.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Agenda item 3B, update on Housing Accountability and Production Office. Elena Cox.
Morning, Chair Kyle, members of the board. I'm Alana Cox, administrator here at Building Codes. Here to talk about the governor's housing bill. So that was kind of the big news for us in February was, as Richard mentioned, Senate Bill 1537, and it's the governor's priority bill to address our affordable housing crisis in Oregon. It does a number of things, but I'm going to kind of focus on the things relevant to us here at Building Codes Division. Don't ask me about land use stuff. It does a lot of land use stuff, but it also creates the Housing Accountability and Production Office, which will be a joint office between Building Codes and the Department of Land Conservation and Development. It's not a physical office. It's more a structure of our 2 agencies working together. We have reorganized ourselves a little bit at Building Codes to support the work of that office. So we've created the Housing and Building Safety section that's going to be the interface with that HAPO office. Tony Rocco, our structural program chief, is the manager of that new section. And we're going to do a few things. We already have a lot of the authority that will be new authority for DLCD, having to do with holding local government accountable when they violate housing laws. So we delegate building inspection programs to local government. We certify building officials and inspectors. So we have a lot of oversight over local government that doesn't exist on the land use side. But this office is going to create the ability for someone to file a complaint if they are having a hiccup in the development process, an issue with local government, and to run down that complaint, and it will have a bunch of new authority for the Department of Land Conservation and Development. We're going to keep doing what we're doing in terms of dispute resolution, which is another piece of that bill. You know, it's always better for everyone if those issues don't get to litigation and they can get resolved, right? And so that's, I think, what Brian does all day, every day, taking calls and working things out between inspectors and contractors. So we're going to keep up that work, but I think there's a lot of political momentum as it relates to making the development process work better so that we can address our affordable housing crisis. And so one of the other things the bill does is it creates a process improvement study that is the entire development process, from land use to building codes, public works, like all the way through, including the handoffs, which I think is a lot of the times where things get lost in the shuffle or take longer than they should as things are getting handed off from one department to another. So we're going to be taking a look at that. We are going to be working through some of the Housing Production Advisory Council recommendations. That was a group that the governor put together. She has set an ambitious goal of 36,000 housing units a year. And so this group came up with a number of recommendations of how we're going to achieve that goal. And so insofar as those recommendations are supported by the governor, we're going to be working on those things. So we're doing rulemaking right now on our permit ready plan program to have kind of pre-approved plans. That's one of those issues that came up in that group. So HAPO will be working on that, and you know, the board system we have here at Building Codes, I think, really supports the work we're trying to do under this new endeavor. So we're going to be convening the chairs and vice chairs. I don't need to lecture you about getting a chair and a vice chair. You guys have one. Thank you for that. As soon as we get all of our chairs and vice chairs filled across the boards, we're going to be convening that group so that we can talk about and brainstorm on some of these issues. And then the other thing HAPO is tasked with doing is doing some kind of agency coordination at the state level and providing that kind of no wrong door customer service. Sometimes you have an issue and you're not sure exactly whose fault it is, but you're not getting your permit processed for some reason, right? And so let's say that's an issue that you come to us and it's actually a PUC issue. We'll be empowered to go run that down with PUC and not just say you need to go talk to somebody else, but actually kind of go with you through that process, find the right person, figure out the answer with the appropriate agency. I think there's a recognition that there are a lot of agencies at the state level and at the local level that impact development, and we could do a better job coordinating that work. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it. HAPO will be live next summer in terms of receiving complaints in July of 25, but we're working all systems go now on all that other stuff I talked about.
So this will streamline the permit process then?
That's the hope. Absolutely. Yes. That's the goal.
Any questions from any of the board?
Maybe I should say, I don't know how many of you do residential versus non-residential work, but I think there is a rising tide lift all boats kind of thing happening here. I don't think it's the case that if there's a problem in the development process that is discrete and doesn't relate to housing, that it's like, oh, who cares, that's your problem. I think there's momentum whether you do residential work or not, and I think these improvements will make the development process better kind of regardless of what kind of work you do.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 3C, electrical program update. Brian Chris.
Morning. For the record, Brian Kreis, the electrical program chief. Not too much in the way of an update today. 2 months can be a short time frame. Damon and myself have been answering the day-to-day calls from different industry stakeholders on a number of licensing and code topics. As the end of the school year approaches, we have been meeting with apprentice classes to share with them the increasing role that VC.D plays in their new career as they become licensed in the electrical trade. For those of us that have an Oregon inspector certification, there will be 2 live question and answer sessions for the 2023 Oregon Electrical Specialty Code, Table 1E amendments, happening next month. One session will be on the 4th of June from 1 to 3 p.m., and the second one is from 10 a.m. to noon on the 11th of June. It is not a mandatory meeting for inspectors, but if you or your staff have questions about the Table 1E amendments, it would be beneficial to attend one of those sessions. Both sessions will be done remotely over Zoom. Look to our website for more information concerning these Q&A sessions. So we've met and exceeded the threshold of 500 electricians in the state that have been certified under EVITP or an equivalent program. There is an agenda item under new business to discuss this further. That's my update for the board today. Does anyone have any questions for me? Mr. Chair, that's my electrical program update.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Agenda item 3E, proposed consent.
Elevator program.
Oh, elevator, sorry. I saw Warren was on there earlier, but item 3D, elevator program update. I guess the statistics are in our packet.
He's on there, but it looks like he's muted. Warren? Chief Hartung, are you available?
He's at the airport today.
Okay. All right, he's doing inspection, so just review the statistics that he's presented. Okay, now item 3E, proposed consent orders.
Good morning, Chair Kyle and Vice Chair Flegel, other members of the board. My name is Kathy Rowell, contested case representative for the division. Before the board is a summary of consent orders recently negotiated by the division on the board's behalf for settlement prior to hearing. We've entered into 4 consent orders since the last board meeting. All settlements, including the amount owed and suspended civil penalties, fall within the guidelines of the penalty matrix and contain standard conditions. Board action is required on all these cases. All these cases are fairly standard, but I'm available to answer questions you have regarding any of them. Again, board approval or denial of these consent orders is required. So going through the chart, starting at the beginning, we have TML International, case number C 2021-0048, involving the installation of solar systems in Portland. Dates of violation 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Assessed penalty of $10,000, imposed amount of $5,000, and suspended penalty of $5,000. This is a first-time violator. We basically ended up conditioning the license for 12 months, and the conditions are listed in this other section. The respondent will submit electrical contractor license to the division in exchange for conditional electrical contractor license. For 12 months, the respondent will submit monthly timesheets from the current signing supervisor. For 12 months, the respondent will submit to the division a list containing the names, job description, title, electrical license number for each of the respondent's current employees, independent contractors, or temporary employees. So I wanted to take this case to kind of explain to the board just a little bit about how we do cases. So when we get investigations, that investigation can result in multiple notices, and all those notices get mailed out at the same time. So for example, in this case, we had a notice to TML International, and we also had a notice to Scott Ledoux. And the way we note that, in our consent orders, you have a copy of the consent order in front of you. You'll see the same thing in the Lear Electric and Nicholas Mumford orders today. If you look at page 2 of the TML International consent order, you will see when Scott Ledoux is referenced as the signing supervisor on number 6, that we put a little footnote there. I don't know if everybody has their pamphlets in front of them. So if you go down that footnote, it'll say, see division related case, C 2021-0086 against Scott Ledoux. So Scott Ledoux has a case, and his notice was mailed out. He has chosen not to contest. So his order is It finalized on May 9th. And so we have to give it 60 days because he has 60 days to appeal to the Court of Appeals. And so you will likely see that order in the final orders chart in July. So we're also going to start making a change, I believe, to our chart so that when we have related cases like this, you're going to see that. Likewise, sometimes you'll see, like for a company, sometimes we have plumbing and electrical violations. So if we have a company name, we may have a footnote and we may say, see related plumbing case. So that's what those footnotes signify, just to kind of share that with y'all. Any questions about that? Okay, so the next two cases are Lear Electric and Nicholas Mumford, and these are related cases. C 2023-182 and 183. Along with these two consent orders, we put in an apology letter from Nicholas Mumford so that y'all could review that. Basically, the violations was engaging in the business of electrical contractor without a continuously employed signing supervising electrician and using deceased signing supervisor's license to obtain electrical permits for 9 months. The violations are the same for both cases. So as you can see for the company, Lear Electric, we assessed $42,000, imposed $12,000, and suspended $30,000. And we tried to put these two cases where they would track together. So we conditioned the company's electrical contractor license for 12 months, and we suspended Nicholas Mumford's signing supervisor license for 12 months. So the conditions we put in for the company was the respondent will notify us who their general signing supervisor is. They will provide a list of current employees and job titles within 30 days of the full execution of the consent order in every quarter of the year, and provide timesheets to the division for the current signing supervisor just so we can see that he is continuously employed with the company. Likewise, for Nicholas Mumford, we did $14,000 assessed, $8,000 imposed, and $6,000 suspended. And then finally, the last case today is C 2023-204. Betty Ann, I was going to show you quickly before I do that. If you look at the Lear Electric order in your packet, you'll see that there's a footnote when Mumford is mentioned in it, showing that he has a related case, just to kind of show you what I was talking about earlier. Sorry about that. Okay, so Betty Meyer, C 2023-204, installation of new electrical 200 amp main panel and meter base, 220 amp circuit breakers, 1 GFCI receptacle, a mast and weatherhead, AFCI receptacle, electrical wiring, no electrical contractor license, allowing unlicensed work, and no electrical permit in Camp Klamath Falls in April of 2023. Assessed $6,000, imposed $1,250, and suspended $4,750. Are there any questions today on any of these consent orders prior to vote?
On Nicholas Mumford,
Yes.
we're suspending his general electrical or signing supervisor electrician's
Right.
license. He currently has one.
Yes, he was actually, during the course of those 7 months, testing to get his signing
Okay.
supervisor license. It's actually pretty sad because his father had cancer. And so this is a family company. And so he passed it right around the same time that we had the investigation open, discovered the issue. So that's the kind of how that played out. But he currently has that signing supervisor license that's in his order. Whatever the number is.
On TML contracting, it looks like the fines for them was for not having a supervisor signing, but then we were going after the supervisor,
Yes,
but he wasn't employed during the time of these violations?
he was. Scott Ledoux was their registered general signing supervisor with the division at the time of the violations.
But he wasn't continuously employed?
Correct. He was continuously employed actually with many different companies in a lot of different states.
Okay.
I think a lot of states don't have that same continuously employed requirement that Oregon has. So,
Okay, any other further questions?
Through the chair, thank you for taking the time to explain the related cases and all that type of stuff. I know that's a question I had. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 4 cases proposed for resolution as outlined in the Enforcement Board report and issue final orders.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent orders. Debbie, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Frank Sonnabend? Robert Lazalier?
Aye.
Ken Spencer?
Aye.
Al Shecker?
Aye.
Ryan Richards?
Aye.
Rob McNeil?
Aye.
Robert Lazalier?
Aye.
Is Elizabeth connected yet? No, I do not see her. Vice Chair John Flegel
Aye.
and Chair Thomas Kyle.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
thank you very much.
Okay. Agenda item 5, there's no communications. In the 6, there's no unfinished business. 7A, board review of approved electrical chief's recommendations for new continuing education course and instructors. Brian? Or Brian?
Thank you, Chair Kyle. Ian Paik, analyst with the division. With this agenda item, the division requests that the board consider electrical chief crisis recommendations regarding continuing education courses and instructors. In April, during this CE cycle, the chief reviewed 56 applications from 14 organizations. Ultimately, he recommended 34 courses and 16 instructors for approval. The electrical chief also recommended 6 courses be denied approval. This agenda item will require a motion, examples of which are included in your agenda packet. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'd like to motion to approve the electrical program chief's recommendations for approval or denial of courses or instructors.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the recommendations. Debbie, would you call a roll?
Yes, sir. Frank Sonnabend?
Aye.
Robert Lazalier?
Aye.
Ken Spencer?
Aye.
Al Shecker?
Aye.
Ryan Richards?
Aye.
Rob McNeil?
Aye.
Robert Lazalier?
Aye.
Vice Chair John Flegel?
Aye.
Chair Thomas Kyle.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Agenda item 7B, board reviewing the notification of the legislative committee about individuals completing the EVIPT courses.
Thank you, Chair Kyle. Ian Paik, analyst with the division. With this agenda item, the division requests that the board consider the division's proposal for the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program annual review process, and also direct the division to notify the appropriate legislative committees on the board's behalf now that 500 individuals have been certified, as noted by Chief Kreis earlier in the program update. Senate Bill 582 is a 2023 bill that has directed the division on training and public contracting requirements for electrical vehicle charging installations. This bill has had requirements active upon enrollment, and now, following the certification of 500 individuals, more requirements are triggered and others modified. SB 582 specifies the percentage of certified electricians that must be present and working on an installation, as well as the types of customer-side installations that do and do not fall under these requirements. Importantly for the board is required to notify the appropriate committees of the Legislative Assembly related to consumer and business services now that the 500 individual threshold has been met. SB 582 also requires that the board, on an annual basis, request information on the number of electricians who have signed up for the course, completed the course, and passed the certification exams from these EVITP providers. On this, the division recommends beginning the annual review schedule of EVITP providers in January of 2025 at the first board meeting of the new year. Chief Kreis is available for any further questions on this agenda item. This agenda item will also require a motion, examples of which are included in your agenda packet. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval for the annual review process for EVITP beginning in 2025 and direct the division to notify the appropriate legislative committees of surpassing the 500 individual threshold.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the annual review process. Any discussion? Okay, Debbie, would you call a roll?
Yes, sir. Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Robert Lazalere,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Al Shecker,
Aye.
Brian Richards,
Aye.
Robert McNeil,
Aye.
Robert Lazalere, excuse me,
Aye.
Vice Chair John Flegel,
Aye.
and Chairman Thomas Kyle.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie. Agenda item 7C, request from Steve Wilson, General Supervising Electrician's License for extension of license requirements of hardship or illness.
Thank you, Chair Kyle. Ian Paik, analyst with the division. This agenda item is brought forth by Steve Wilson. Mr. Wilson is not present on the Zoom or in the room, but has provided a letter outlining his request to the board. Mr. Wilson requests an extension of licensing requirements due to hardship and illness and explains why in the letter included in your agenda packet. Graham Roney is available for any licensing questions. This agenda item will require a motion, examples of which are included in your agenda packet. Thank you.
Is there any discussion?
On this has the 2-year, I think it's 2-year if I remember correct, the extension periods, the standard extension periods already expired? Does anyone know?
Yeah, it's my understanding that the extension period has expired.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? I guess we'll entertain a motion.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to disapprove the request received by Steve Wilson for extension of license requirements due to hardship or illness under OAR 918-030-0240. Reason being, I believe there was still quite a bit of time for him to, even though he was going through a hardship at the time, to get through his continuing ed and finish getting his license.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to disapprove Steve Wilson's request. Any further discussion?
Just for clarity, how much time are we talking about that would have elapsed between his expiration and now?
Good morning, Chair Kyle. My name is Graham Roney. For the record, I'm the licensing manager of the division. His license expired on October 1st of 2022, so roughly about a year and a half at this point. Mr. Wilson has been in the hospital. He recently was discharged probably about a month or so ago. He had his toes amputated. He was in there for a while. Then he had his ankle or his foot amputated. He was in there for a while. And then finally he had his leg amputated. So he was in the hospital for quite some time. He finally got released, got a prosthetic, and now he's in the process of rehabilitation and trying to get back to work. But it has been about a year and a half.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Debbie, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Frank Sonovan,
Nay.
Robert Lazalier,
Nay.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Al Shucker,
Nay.
Ryan Richards,
Aye.
Robert McNeil,
Aye.
Vice Chair John Flegel,
Aye.
and Chair Thomas Kyle.
Aye.
William Barlow,
Aye.
6 yeses and 3 nays. Mr. Chairman, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Agenda item 8. Do any board members have any announcements at this time? Hearing none, there being no further business of the May 23rd, 2024 Electrical and Elevator Board meeting. Meeting's adjourned at 10:42. Thank you, everyone.